Now, I hope and expect this to be the only time that I will speak to you in this manner. I would not provide information beyond that which is already public in any appearance before Congress.
Special Counsel Robert Mueller is testifying on Wednesday in his first appearance before lawmakers after the release of the Mueller report. He has said publicly that he does not intend to go beyond what is in that 400-plus page report, but here are some things that we could still learn from his testimony. One of the things I'm watching for is what Mueller says about why he decided it was not his place to come to a conclusion on obstruction and how he squares that with existing Justice Department policy.
Under long-standing department policy, a president cannot be charged with a federal crime while he is in office. The special counsel's office is part of the Department of Justice, and by regulation, it was bound by that department policy.
Shortly after Attorney General Barr released a letter summarizing the principal conclusions of the Mueller report, we found out later Robert Mueller actually sent a letter to him that sounded as though it was taking issue with some of the ways Barr had characterized his report.
And he was a political appointee with me at the Department of Justice. The letter's a bit snitty, and I think it was probably written by one of his staff people.
I personally felt he could have reached a decision.
The question for Mueller is, how serious were your reservations? What really were you concerned about, and how upset were you at Attorney General Barr?
It was a complete and total exoneration.
President Trump and his supporters have cast the Mueller report as vindication of their long-running claims that there was no collusion with the Russian government. The report is actually more nuanced than that. It does not address collusion, but instead addresses conspiracy and cooperation with the Russian government. It's going to be interesting to see what Mueller says about the degree of connections between the two sides, even if they didn't amount to a criminal conspiracy. One big question is why Mueller didn't interview Donald Trump Jr. He said in his report that he looked closely at the Trump Tower meeting, but he didn't feel like it was a situation where he could prove that Trump Jr. knew what he was doing was illegal. There were several events that were mentioned in the report, but which Mueller didn't reach some key conclusions about. One was, why did Paul Manafort share polling data with a Russian associate who law enforcement believes is tied to Russian intelligence? Another is whether Eric Prince's comments to investigators in Congress may have been incorrect, especially with regards to a meeting with a Russian banker in the Seychelles. And the last one is whether President Trump ordered Michael Flynn to reach out to the Russian ambassador during the transition period when the two of them talked about sanctions, and Michael Flynn ultimately lied to the FBI about that.
But I'm not going to be watching Mueller because you can't take all those bites out of the apple. We had no collusion, no obstruction, we had no nothing, we had a total no collusion finding.